Well, hello, Berean Fellowship. My name is Matthew Brooks. I'm the associate pastor at Hastings Berean Bible Church. And on behalf of the Constitutional Rewrite team, I just wanted to take a couple minutes to tell you a little bit about this document. If you were at the Connect conference, you should have already received a copy. And if you weren't, you should be getting one in the mail soon. I just want to thank the guys that I got to work with on this team. That would be Justin Bebb from Columbus and Tice Jensen from Broken Bow and Jim Cluth from Rochester, as well as President Scott Mathis. We really enjoyed getting to know each other through this process and talking about theology and the mission and direction of the fellowship. And we've been working on this for about a year now. I also want to thank Di Mathis, who kind of got us organized and set up and pointed in the right direction, and who really did a lot of hard work on the back end, getting the final formatting done and the printing arranged and all of that to get this nice, beautiful document to you. And also, it's important for us to recognize the team of guys, and I don't even know all who served on that team, but that produced the document that we're currently operating under, that was adopted in 2014. Those guys did a lot of hard work and really laid the foundation for everything that we did. We really used their document as a template for everything that we did. Now, I do want to just tell you what you've got in here. The first page is going to be a letter from the team. So before you dig into the document, we really encourage you to read that letter. And then you're going to have the Berean Fellowship of Churches Constitution and Bylaws. That's going to be the first thing. And then there's also a set of sample bylaws here. Now, even though we're doing a new constitution for the Berean Fellowship, that's not about changing the direction or reorganizing the fellowship. We actually really feel good about the health of the BFC right now. The direction that we're headed, we think, is really positive. And we actually think that's the best time to look at a document like this. We don't want to be reacting to some kind of crisis, but rather we want to be in a stable, healthy place to make sure that our documents that we're operating under are consistent with and helpful in the way that we function and the pursuit of our mission. So what we've really done is just kind of shore up those bylaws, try to close a few gaps that we saw, and make sure everything was clear and really consistent with the way things are running now, and also maybe anticipate a few potential things that could pop up down the road, just so we're prepared for that. So if you're not really familiar with the existing set of bylaws, looking through these bylaws, it might not even be obvious to you what has changed, and that's fine, because that's not really our goal, to change the direction of the Berean Fellowship so much as just to make sure that the document is really all that it should be. I also want to make sure everybody understands that Berean churches are going to continue to be autonomous. You're going to function under your own local set of church bylaws. And as long as those bylaws are consistent with the national bylaws and meet the legal requirements of the state of Nebraska, then you're good to go. You can make those bylaws say whatever you want. We're not trying to micromanage churches with this. We just want to have an operating document for the fellowship that keeps us all on the same page and in sync. Now, we do know that writing your local church bylaws is probably not something that a lot of churches are really excited about doing. So if it's time to kind of revisit those, or it's time to kind of update them, then we have provided a set of local church bylaws in the back here that's a sample. And you're free to just adopt that as is, or to use it as a template and make some changes to it, or just pull pieces here and there if you want. That's just a resource for you. You don't have to do anything with it that you don't want to, but we wanted to include that for you to help you with that process. Probably the biggest change to the national document that we've made is we have moved the doctrinal statement back to the national document. Up until 2014, the doctrinal statement was always part of the national document. In fact, there was one doctrinal statement for all Berean churches. If you were a Berean church, that was your doctrinal statement. And in 2014, in order to give churches a little more freedom and autonomy, that doctrinal statement was moved to the local level, and churches were given the ability to make changes to it as they saw fit. And about a quarter of Berean churches have done that since 2014. All those changes have been reasonable and consistent within the realm of conservative evangelical theology, nothing that would threaten the unity of the fellowship in terms of pursuing our mission together. But realistically, over time, as there's more and more of those changes, it is likely that there could be enough separation of doctrine that could become a problem and an issue. And it's really not fair or reasonable to expect the board of directors to analyze every single change and have to decide on a case-by-case basis, well, this change is okay and this isn't. That's just a lot of work, and it's asking for a lot of division and trouble. So rather than do that, we really thought it was important to move the doctrinal statement back to the national document so that we all understand what is the doctrine that unites us? What is it that we believe that keeps us all pulling in the same direction as a fellowship of churches? And so that's what we've done. Now, because of that, and because there have been some changes, this doctrinal statement is a little bit broader than the recommended doctrinal statement from back in 2014. It's not broader than what we're actually seeing in the Berean Fellowship now. We're not seeking to broaden the theology of the Berean Fellowship. Rather, we're seeking for this document to represent where things actually stand and to not take a position that would divide us from some of our sister churches on secondary doctrinal issues. So that's the goal there. We're not pushing the bounds of theology, but we are trying to represent what really, the level of diversity that really exists in the fellowship right now. But what we also are doing, which still allows you to have your doctrinal distinctives, is every church is free to supplement this doctrinal statement however they want, as long as they don't contradict it. So, for example, we're not taking a position in the national doctrinal statement about the timing of the rapture. That's not something that we feel that we need to break fellowship over if two churches don't see eye to eye on that. But if your local church wants to take a position on the timing of the rapture, you're absolutely free to do that. You can put that in your local bylaws, that's part of your doctrinal statement. You can put that on your website. In fact, any of the doctrine that you want to phrase differently or articulate differently on your website or in your literature or from the pulpit, you are absolutely free to do that. The only thing we're asking is for all of us to agree that this statement is something that we're not going to preach or teach against, that we can be united in that. But then the local flavor of your church, the local emphasis that you want to put on it, you can absolutely do that. So hopefully that will help or allow us to still express ourselves as individual churches without wondering or worrying whether our sister churches in the fellowship really share the same core beliefs that we do. The doctrinal statement that we worked hard on it. We really think it represents biblical truth and that it honors God, and we really like it. But I just want to point out that, no doctrinal statement can adequately capture the grandeur and majesty of our God. We cannot, in this doctrinal statement or any doctrinal statement, adequately articulate God's love or fully explain the mystery of the Trinity or the tension between God's sovereignty and human free will. And so, when you get this document, as you look at that doctrinal statement, I just encourage you to don't hold it up to that standard. Don't say, does this document adequately express everything there is to say in Scripture or the infinite glorious nature of our God? It doesn't. No doctrinal statement can. But the purpose of the church is not to define doctrine. The purpose of the church is to make disciples. And the purpose of the Berean Fellowship is to strengthen churches to make disciples to reach the world. And the purpose of the doctrinal statement is to help us do that. So as you evaluate this statement, would you please do it with that in mind? Would you consider, is this a statement that can help us stay united, stay focused, stay on mission, so that we're not arguing about doctrine, we're not wondering whether we believe the same things or not, and pull in the same direction? Because that's really what we're looking for from this statement. Now, we are not going to actually make any formal changes for a full year. We're going to vote at next year's Connect Conference to adopt any new constitution and bylaws at that time. And so we do have an opportunity, if we need to make some tweaks or changes to this document, to do that, and we do welcome your feedback on that. We would ask that you would take couple of weeks maybe to just digest it and pray about it before offering that feedback. And then from August 1st on, you can communicate with our entire rewrite team by emailing us at bereanfellowshipfeedback@gmail.com, and we would be happy to receive your input, answer your questions through that method. So hopefully that answers all your questions. If not, we'll look for your emails after August 1st. And please do just be praying for the fellowship during this time. Be praying for our board of directors and our leadership, that this would be a process that brings us together and strengthens us to better pursue our mission for Jesus. Thanks a lot.